Welcome to the Real Knowledge Podcast. I'm your host, Tierras, and today we have a marketing genius in hand right here. This guy has been doing marketing for I don't even know how long. It's been 20 plus years. He'll tell you a little more about that. Whilly, the real WB, and then he says, the only. Right, so
in fairness, there is only one.
All right, there you go. There's only one right there.
It's always fun to say.
So, look, introduce yourself. Tell the people who you are. I really wanted to get you on the show because of all the knowledge that you have and what you could provide to all these new entrepreneurs, and even the ones that have been working, and now things change with all this technology. So tell the people a little bit about yourself.
Sure. First of all, thank you for having me. I know you were on my podcast once upon a time.
Yeah.
But thank you for having me. I appreciate it. I appreciate you. You also do great work. So a lot of people, need to stay tuned in with you. Everybody else, thank you for tuning in. My name is Whilly Bermudez. I'm best known probably here in South Florida for doing events. I did events for a really long time. That was probably what I consider my school as far as marketing. How I actually get into marketing was nightlife events and then grand openings and concerts and things of that nature. But yes, I've been doing marketing for over 20 years, somewhere between 23 and 24 years, both corporate work and for clients. So.
Right, yeah. I did meet you, like we were saying, we met like on a boat, on just partying, and
yes,
going boat
correct.
to boat. Who knows if it was a regatta or whatnot,
It sounds like it was probably the regatta because we're out there, with the big, Chinese rice farmer hats, avoiding the sun, right?
Yeah, those are my favorite.
It was really great times, But we all grew up, right?
Yeah.
We all eventually grew up.
Absolutely.
We still got to have fun, though.
Yeah, absolutely. We got to keep that inner child within us.
For sure. Absolutely. 100%.
Yeah. So I want to get into a little bit on like marketing, because I know kind of what you do, but I wanna see how you could help somebody with, let's say, like the new AI craze that there's out there. Everybody wants to know, how do I use AI? How could you help somebody with AI, and give me a little bit of background on how you've used AI.
So marketing in general, traditionally, as we know it, used to be direct mail, television, and radio, right? And field marketing, or at least now it's fancy. So now we call it field marketing, right? Back in the day, it was basically either having a presence in events to do activations, or it would be even in the mall, let's say with a little booth, right? That's more like the traditional sense. Of course, things have evolved so much so that marketing now has so many twists and turns that it's hard to keep up. If you go on LinkedIn, you'll see, a myriad of different, titles, right? All related to marketing. It's like, what's this? What's that? What does this do? It's been, divided among segments, within the profession, right? My areas of expertise have been writing the annual marketing plan and creating concepts, creating campaign concepts, right? So the very creative, angle, to how you launch a campaign, what is your messaging, and how it's put together. But back to the annual marketing plan, what happens is small business owners start a business and they start to think immediately, okay, I need to do some marketing. So they reach out to somebody and they say, I need marketing, but they don't really know what they need. They just know they need marketing.
Right.
What a lot of folks don't understand, that if you don't have a marketing plan, an actual tangible plan, it's hard to be successful.
Right.
Because if you're just going to throw darts, at the wall and just expect to hit something, that's not how you do marketing. Marketing happens with market research, understanding who your competitors are, right? What are your goals? How much money do you need to break even? All of these kind of things.
Right.
And when you start to answer these questions, you can start to develop a plan.
Right.
So that plan gets developed. It should navigate you through the first, 12 months. Not first 12 months of a business, meaning any 12 months.
Right.
Right. And you should be successful if you're following everything that's in that plan, because it's assumed that you took your time, right, to map out everything that has to be done.
Right.
So that's the first thing that I provide is really marketing plans.
Right.
I'm actually weary of any marketer that tells you that they're going to give you marketing services, but they don't say to you, we have to develop a plan,
right.
Or at least you have a plan, because you can solicit my services, but at least tell me that it's attached to a plan. Otherwise, again, it's just darts. You know?
Right.
So that's not really effective. And then the creative side will be same thing. Once you have that plan, you have to launch a campaign. So what is the campaign about? What is the messaging?
Right.
What's the storyline? Right. The visuals. In today's world, flyers, used to dominate. Now that's gone. Now it's like 90% video.
Right.
Now everything is video, right? So what does that look like? How about the script? Have you thought about the script? All these kind of things. So those are the two type of plans that I typically provide, clients.
Right.
Now, websites and mobile applications as well, but that's not, many people offer that.
Right.
Artificial intelligence, I recently got into it. By recently, I mean in the last 2 years, not that recent.
Right.
So I've been able to provide clients a lot of AI services. Same thing, photography, AI photography to use in campaigns.
Wow.
Video clips to use in campaigns, right? Why? Because it reduces cost to a client where you don't have to go out into the field and scout for locations.
Right.
Right? You could do anything, either with a green screen or not even. You could do part green screen, create a background, and then expand into an AI production. So, and then, you and I were chatting about something interesting. Aside from the AI services, I have recently become an AI actor, if you will, for a French company.
Nice.
Yeah, that they contacted me, and they basically developed an AI platform that takes a 2-minute video or longer of a person speaking. Doesn't matter what you're speaking about. It could be just gibberish for 2 minutes.
Right.
And then it goes into this AI platform, and it processes your image and your voice. And then it makes it available for clients to select you as an actor, and they upload their own script. So what happens is that then you see yourself saying whatever the client wants you to say based on any business or any product.
Right.
So I've been doing this for about 12 months. Like that side of things.
Yeah. And
then recently, like friends of mine, acquaintances, reach out to me to ask me, "Hey, is this you? Is this you? I just saw you on Instagram, like promoting, like workers' comp, business." I'm like, well, it's me, but it's sort of not, right? But it is, but it's not.
Right.
Yes, it's my image. It's about 80% of my voice, but I don't have any control over what's being said.
Right.
But it is ethical, right? So it's not like they can, do anything immoral, right, or unethical.
Right.
Not to that extent. But yes, I have no control over the script or anything. So that lets you know where we are in the world of artificial intelligence, and it's only going to advance from there.
Yeah.
If we're doing that now, you can imagine when that 80% of the voice becomes 100%. And then there's no way to know. It's going to get to a point there's no way to know. But that's where we are, and it's super, super, super important that everybody that has a business embrace artificial intelligence.
Right.
There's so many ways to go about it. There's things you could do yourself. You have Runway. Runway is a platform.
Okay.
Pika is another one. Pika. I mean, there's various ones that you could go in there and spend a little money and pretty much start to help you with your ongoing marketing efforts. Sometimes it's not the explosion that's connected to your annual marketing plan. Sometimes it's just your ongoing efforts. Like you have to make noise in your industry, and you have to keep it fresh, and you have to keep doing something.
Right.
Sometimes that something could be based on Runway, on Pika, and so many platforms. But they're relatively cost effective. They're going to go down in price as technology continues to advance.
Right.
But now it's usually based on some membership and credits. Because it is expensive to develop AI because it's a lot of computer power,
right?
CPU power happening at the same time to really render even one video clip that's 5 seconds long, right? So it's like, yes, we're there, technology's there, but we're not all the way there, right? But we're getting there,
right.
But yeah, anybody that has a business, anybody that cares about marketing needs to start paying attention to AI.
Right.
It's just where we are.
Yeah. I've used AI. I've been using AI for a while now, And it's really good, how it helps you navigate through some of, like, let's say you're gonna write an email and you write it and then it kind of fixes it up for you.
Sure.
So it's good in that sense that at least it might help you like create that message in the email.
Sure.
And help it be more professional.
Sure.
The funny thing is they use exactly your words. It's just now they're putting it in a different format.
It's polished.
Yeah, it's
clean.
polished. Yeah.
It's more eloquent.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
The only thing you do have to watch it, because on ChatGPT, there's been times where like I tell it to do something, and it's not that it's not doing it, but if you really read what it's saying, it's not consistent with either what I really asked it to do,
right,
or if I uploaded a document, right? Because it does that. You can upload a document and read it, but it didn't read it right, so it's spitting out a conclusion that's inaccurate.
Right.
So then I have to tell it, hey, but you're wrong, and then you literally have it apologize to you. And it actually says it's sorry.
No way.
It says, oh, you're right. I'm sorry. Here's the, so you have to watch that, because that could get you in trouble.
Yeah.
But I think that's where we are. And I only think about the future generation, the kids in college,
right,
or young men and women in college, right? Man, come on. Everybody's using this.
Yeah.
Term papers,
Everything.
essays.
Yeah.
This is where we are, and I think that again, it's going to just continue to rise.
Yeah, I wonder if that's going to mess up the kids coming up now that they're using that ChatGPT and they're just putting in a bunch of nonsense, and then now they're not going to learn how to really write to the extent that the kids from back in the day would write, essays, just writing it out.
I suspect that our generation and generations before us are going to be considered more intelligent. As far as brain power, right? I think we're going to be considered more intelligent. I think the youth, unfortunately, is not. But they're going to be more technological.
Absolutely.
Beyond advanced.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And yeah, I mean, but I think that the dependency is increasing. Because look at us, same thing. Now, if you want to write a legal letter, if you want to create a resume, anything, now you're probably going to turn to AI for it.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to do it from scratch. Because you got to do too much. You got to think too much.
Yeah.
Here, in fact, you can just write it terribly if you want. All misspellings, right? Terrible grammar. And all you got to tell it is, hey, fix this. And next thing you know, and what? 20 seconds, right? Less.
Yeah.
It's done.
Bam.
So
I know, it's incredible. It's like you say, I think it's good and bad at the same time.
It's good and bad. But we got to embrace it. That's what I tell everybody. It's just all these articles in the media speaking about, that AI is scary, right? Yeah. Because then you get into the robot thing, but we're not going to get into that. Like right. Netflix, Cassandra, I don't know if you saw the show. Mm-hmm. It's like a killer robot in the house. Mm-hmm. But anyway, that's people's fears with AI, right? It's like, how much is too much? Right. Ultimately, what can really happen to us? I say, don't be afraid and just embrace it. Because if not, you're going to get left behind.
Yeah, absolutely.
Technology is, look, our parents, right? Some of us have parents that are 80 years old, right? And they have iPhones, right? And they have tablets. And every day, that's where they go for news. Mm-hmm. And they spend the day, like sending, memes and stuff,
Yeah.
So... Yeah, man, embrace it.
That's awesome. I wanted to get a little more in depth in marketing, because I like what you said about creating a plan, because it's like that saying, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail.
Absolutely.
And or like that saying that you need to have a roadmap. If you're on a ship, the captain needs to know where he's going, because if not, he's going to be making circles, going nowhere.
Exactly
So I really like that part of it, because that's something that it's really hard to gather on your own. If you're not in that industry, if you're not in that business like what you do, it's hard for a normal business owner to come and say, I have to do the books, I have to do the marketing, I have to do the hiring, the firing, the production. I have all these hats that I'm filling. How do I now start planning my marketing? And I think that's something that could help a lot of people, especially even myself. Yeah, I have a plan, but is it a really good plan? have you seen my plan? So
Right.
maybe I could show you, hey, look, here's my plan. You might look at it and say, listen, T, this is a great plan, but you're missing X, Y, and Z.
Correct.
Because you know what you're looking for.
Right.
I may know some marketing, but that's not my niche. So it might be harder for me to do. So talk to me a little bit about how you could really help any entrepreneur at this point, whether new, old, anything, create that plan and how you help them, do it.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, everything boils down to understanding the industry, the type of business, right? What they're doing already, if anything at all. If it's a startup, then you get to go from zero, right? Sometimes, it's not a startup, but it's somebody that wants to go to the next level. So they have new business goals, financial goals.
Right.
They're tired of making X amount and they want to the next threshold.
Right.
So now like they're more ambitious. That requires a completely new set of marketing activities as well.
Right.
But it's understanding the business, what they're doing, who they are, who their competitors are, what is the value that you bring versus your competitors.
Right.
Right. And it does take some level of research, right? Like everything is not like sort of guessing. It's actually really trying to understand the business, their business model, the ecosystem,
Right.
Of the organization. What is it that they're actually doing, and how do they do it? Because believe it or not, even though that I can set out just on the marketing plan side, sometimes I start to listen and I understand something about the business model and the processes, and then I can actually offer free advice to say, oh, you know what, that's not working. That may be hurting you.
Right.
That one little thing that you do, like the life cycle of the client, of the customer, when they're first getting to you, how they're dealt with, and what you do to try to retain their business may not be working well. Maybe that's not part of the marketing plan, but it's part of the analysis. It's part of the investing time to I guess give a little bit of counsel, right, to that business owner.
Right.
But the plan is just understanding all of the details, and then you start to say to them, okay, this is what I suspect will work. Now, does it mean that a plan is etched in stone? It's going to guarantee you massive success? Not necessarily. You tweak as you go as well.
Right.
Within 12 months, you start to say, okay, if I'm spending $1,500 a month on social media or $5,000, maybe neither of those two are enough. Maybe it has to be 10,000. It's just, it's a little bit of trial and error, but you're better off launching marketing activities based on a plan than to just calling a marketing person and saying, hey, can you just create a campaign for me? Right? For example, I had somebody the other day, an attorney, specifically an attorney that deals with title.
Right.
That's not my world, so I don't know too much about it. But he reached out to me because he left the law firm and he wanted to go on his own. So he called me for marketing services.
Right.
So the first thing that I offer him is the marketing plan, because what we just discussed.
Right.
If I wanted to, I can say, okay, let's do your website, let's do this. If you want, we could do a little bit of, direct mail, even though it's a little old school. But there's a lot of things that I could have suggested.
Right.
But I care about people, and I'm not gonna just, misinform somebody, misguide someone, just to make some money.
Right.
So I said, look, I can help you, but you need a plan. We need a plan. Like, I need a plan. Right? Sure, if you just want random marketing services, it's not a problem. But I'm here to tell you that you're throwing money out.
Right.
You're tossing money away because you're not going to be successful that way. Everything has to be analyzed. Everything has to be thought through.
Right.
It can't just be like everything just a shot in the dark. But unfortunately, that's most of the people out there. Yeah. People just want to feel that they're doing something for their business.
Right.
But it's not enough. You got to do it the right way. Long story short, I said to him, look, I don't think that you're in the best. This is after discussing, like some of his personal, finances.
Right.
I said, look, I don't think that you're in the best financial position at this moment. So I rather you gather some strength financially, and we do things the right way, and then we'll attack and create a marketing plan, create an awesome campaign, and launch everything.
Right.
And I'll be with you every step of the way. I'll even go a step further. I even act as your spokesperson for some campaigns. Right. No charge, just the fact that you're my client, right? And he said, you know what? I appreciate the honesty. I appreciate you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Approaching this from a place of humanity, right? Of being a good human.
Yeah.
You know, and not just always wanting a check, which, you know, because a lot of people out there thought Florida,
of
you know, that's the way they are, right?
Yeah.
But that's a good example, man. Somebody that I wasn't willing to just do random marketing services for.
Right.
Because I didn't think that he's going to get the best outcome. And then he's going to have to compete. I think you know this. There's a lot of good title companies here in South Florida.
Yeah, there's a bunch.
I mean, I can think of two top of my head, or one or two, that they do an annual, is it a Halloween party or something?
I guess. I don't know. There's some big ones.
There's big ones, right?
Yeah, there's one that they're like nationwide that are here in Miami, and a lot in there.
And you see, like, they're known for like this annual event. You know what I mean? It's again, you see what I'm saying? It's examining the competitors.
Right.
What do they do? So that when you do something, it has to be either better than what they're doing or something that they're not doing at all.
Yeah.
You know, so you want to innovate, right? Anyway, all these things are just tied together, and it's just taking the time to understand the business. You know,
it's good that you analyze it, because you know I've read a ton of books about marketing and how to market, and then you know the testing, like you said, testing it just on YouTube. You have the thumbnail. You need to test out, and now they have 3 thumbnails, and it says test on YouTube. And it has it on purpose because they want you to test it, because they know that that's how you're gonna make it in your as a YouTuber. And so they have the thumbnail, and then you test the 3, or they put the one that it randomly picks for you. And everybody that I listen to, they're always saying test, because that's the only way you're gonna know what really works. But the problem is that I could tell you to test, and I could maybe test, but if that's not my forte, I'm testing what? You know what I mean? Like, at least you have an idea of, well, you know, I did this thumbnail and I created it, and it has these colors. This thumbnail has this, and this one has this.
Right.
At least you're able to like give me 3 options and give me an explanation of it. Me not knowing, like you said, I'm throwing money to the wind because I don't know what the hell I'm testing. It's 3 different thumbnails, and I even have that trouble now. Sometimes I'll put out a thumbnail, one's good. I might then use the one that YouTube just creates for me. I might be short in time, so I just let it create it for me. And sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't.
Right.
You know, but
yeah, you know, it's like, I understand the life of hope, right? I get it. There's no way that you can get through life without having a certain level of faith and hope.
Right.
But the thing is that everything cannot be hope. Some things have to be based on something.
Right.
Right? So it can't be like, you know what? I have $10,000. All I know is that I'm going to take these $10,000 and I'm going to invest it in marketing. And that's it. And I'm just going to hope for the best.
Right.
That cannot be the approach if we're talking about marketing. That probably cannot be the approach for a lot of other things too.
Yeah, sure,
right?
sure.
But yeah, A and B testing is super important. Instagram, I think, has the same feature right now. You know, the test to see how the audience is going to, react.
Yeah.
You know, but it's really having many years of experience. So it's turning to somebody that does know, that is good with the customer journey, that is good with audiences, that they understand how consumers view things.
Right.
Right? It's being able to step into the shoes of a consumer, ultimately.
Yeah.
That's another thing. Business owners have bad habits, and they want everything to be about them, what they like.
Right.
Right? What they think looks good. And it just doesn't work that way. Consumers don't react to things easily. Like there's tweaking that has to happen.
Right.
To create a message that's impactful, right? That's ultimately going to engage, the audience. So it's not that simple. It's not just, like ram your way into decisions. It's not like that. It's like it's humility. business owners have to be humble.
Right.
And it's okay to learn from someone that just knows a little more than you do.
Right.
And I think that's all it is. It's just surround yourself with people that are good at the things that you're not good at.
Right.
But people have a hard time with that. Yeah, it's ego, right? It's a lot of ego,
Sure.
you know? And it's not just, it's in the world, right? It's people want to not feel that they need someone else.
Right.
But it's just not true. You know, we're all good at different things.
Right. Right. Yeah.
You know, it's like, why are you going to struggle if you know that you don't know this stuff? Get with somebody that knows it.
Right.
And I guarantee you there's things that you know that I don't know.
Correct.
So let me lean on you for the things that I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
And I think, you know, everybody can help each other that way. You know?
No, that's it's true. It's the thing is, you're an entrepreneur. You're doing all these things. You're trying to get the business up. You said it earlier. You know that you have to market, so you start marketing however the hell you can. It's like, all right, let's just try to put it out there. Let's see what happens. But I really like that planning. Plan it, see how it works, and then also, what's your budget? Okay, give me a budget. 500, whatever it is, and then you could kind of say, okay, look, like you told that other guy, you know, you're not in the budget yet. You know, once you get to the budget, I'm gonna give you the budget. It's $2,000 a month. All right, that you get to the $2,000, and I'll show you. But don't try to do it half-ass for $100 because you're gonna get $100 worth of garbage.
Right, and then you're gonna write me potentially a $5,000 check, but I'm not gonna hear from you after 30 days.
Right.
Because you may not have nothing to show for it.
Right.
So not only did I do a disservice to him, but I'm doing it to myself because I lose credibility that way.
Sure.
So you have to be a good person, you know, as well. You know, you have to be professional, but you got to be a good person and try to help people, but don't try to take everything for yourself. There's plenty of time to make money.
Right.
You know, like every person you meet should not be a check. Right? Like that should not be the thought process. You know, there's ample opportunity to do things and do it correctly. So then that person could be proud of you as their service provider. And then they're going to turn to someone else and say, hey, you know, this guy or this girl, they really know their stuff, man, and they're great and they're transparent and they really care about the outcomes.
Right.
So, you know, it's just do better, do good.
Right. Yeah. No, that's good. I honestly, it's a wake-up call. It should be a wake-up call to all the entrepreneurs listening. And if you just help just one person in their marketing plan, you've done a lot. Because you know, as a business owner yourself, it's really hard to get business. It's hard to run your whole operation.
It's tough, man. It's tough, right?
It's not for everybody either.
It's not.
You think I'm gonna be a business owner and it's gonna be so much easier to have all this free time, and you don't understand that. No, you're gonna be working Saturday, Sunday, 12 o'clock at night, 1, 3 in the morning,
dealing with difficult customers. Right? Yeah. People don't talk about that enough.
Yeah,
everybody's not a good person. Yeah, everybody's not a nice person.
Yeah,
the second you become a business owner, any business, you're gonna encounter some personalities, man, that are just not good. You know what I mean? Like they're not good people. Yeah.
They're just out for your business.
They're out,
I get phone calls, and I'm sure you probably get it too. You're, hi, this is Yelp. Hi, I'm your Yelp person, whatever, and they're trying to sell you for you to be on Yelp, right? So, and then you're like, oh, well, maybe that'll be a good idea. And then you'll have somebody else call you, hey, this is Google, I work for Google, blah, blah, blah. But those people are only there to like get your business right now. And they're like telling, oh, the metrics is this and whatever. But like you said, there's no plan. So how you're just gonna put the money out there and hope for the best. And if you do good, great. You know, I remember when I first started lending, you know, back in '99, I regretted, one of the things that I regretted in not doing this in college was I was thinking, man, I should have gotten a marketing degree. I should have learned PR. I should have learned these things in college because that would have helped me as a business owner. And I didn't understand how much marketing was important until I got into the business. Sure. And now I've always been, I learned SEO. I've learned all these things to try to learn what you learn and what you know. And it's just, I don't need to be an expert in it, but I need to know something about it.
Yeah, of course.
Because you don't want to be out there just taking somebody's word as, yeah, hey, I believe you. You know, you got to research and kind of like figure out, is this guy really telling me the truth, or am I, getting duped over here?
Or they're going to do what I said. They're going to get you to write the $3,500 check. Mm-hmm. It's not going to do you any good, right? In 30 days time, 60 days time, you're going to think back to the $3,500 check. You're going to be like, man, I could have saved that money.
Yeah.
For rent, for 1 month of rent, for example, right? It's like, if you're not sure, if you don't think there's a solid plan behind it, probably shouldn't do it.
Right.
If you don't think you could trust a person, that service provider, you probably shouldn't do it.
Right.
But by all means, do anything with somebody that knows what you're doing.
Right. Correct.
You know, it's okay to like learn on the go. Now, if you have an endless amount of capital, if you could burn through money experimenting, then that's a whole other thing.
Sure, yeah. Oh, I got money to burn. Don't worry about it.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Then
you'll learn it. Yeah, of course.
Learn it
You'll figure
own.
like, okay, it cost me $1 million, but
Sure. But no, man, listen, marketing has gotten very complex. Like I said, just go on LinkedIn and you'll see crazy titles, right? It's not that they're crazy titles, it's just that it's been segmented, right? Roles have been segmented. Yeah. So now you have this marketer that just does funnels, right?
Right.
You have this other one that just does PR, which, fancy way of saying is, content manager, right? Mm-hmm. Or content creator.
Sure.
But really content manager. And what they do is just create PR pieces, essentially.
Right.
Anyway, there's just so many. So it's like, what has happened in the past 5 years, 10 years?
Right.
Before, it was just marketing director, vice president of marketing, chief marketing officer.
You're right.
It's a wrap. Now it's not like that. Now it's just this title and that title and this title and that title. And it does get confusing.
Yeah.
Because, you start reading, you're like, oh, man, what does he do again? What does she do? Right. But it's just making it more segmented, so that this expert or this specialist could focus just on this. This other one just on this other one just on this, and then the person that oversees everything is just supervising.
Right.
But at the end of the day, lean on somebody that knows.
Good. That's good advice. I'm glad I had you on. Is there anything else you want to talk about that we haven't covered so far?
Man, for me, if we're talking about life, putting marketing aside, being a business owner or anything like that, if we're talking about life, like anybody, that says, like my life isn't going well, why is it that my life has turned out this way versus somebody else's? I'll just say follow Christ, man.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, for me, I'm more a Christ follower than I am a marketer, than I am a man, than I am anything.
Sure.
And that means the most to me.
Right.
So that's the advice that I give people. Friends, family, strangers. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what's going on in your life. Find Christ.
Right.
Meet Him, because I know Him. Right. And to me, that's everything.
Right.
So.
No, that's good. That's good advice. There's a lot of people that are, in a bad situation. It might not be that bad, but if they don't, they're in their own perception, it's horrible. And if they do find Christ, then it could help them. There's a lot of, you have your churches, meditate. Meditation's, great. Jesus Christ meditated. If you read the Bible, he meditated. And so he was meditation is, people were making fun of it back like 20 years ago. Oh, what do you meditate? That's so dumb. But now people have realized that meditation is actually extremely powerful. And you speak to Christ when you're in there, when you're completely, shut down from this,
no doubt.
consciousness, and you're not in the matrix, and you're out, in the universe. That's when you speak to Him.
Man, and stay in prayer, because that helps build your faith.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, it's doing life with the Lord is a lot better than doing life by yourself.
Absolutely.
So that's ultimately, you know, how I lead my life. You know.
No, that's awesome advice. You know,
Yeah.
I want to thank you for being on the show. I want to thank you for all the knowledge that you've left here.
Thank you, my brother.
And I'm going to talk to you later about maybe doing something like this for a group of people that maybe you could show them kind of like how important it is to plan your marketing, you know, and how you could maybe help them, and maybe that in essence could help others as well, you know, because that might be something that is in your wheelhouse, and a lot of people may need that.
Yeah, any way I can help, you know, at any time. But yeah, man. But thank you, you know, for having me. Yeah. I mean, you're a great guy. Keep doing what you're doing as well. All right.
Thank you, my brother.
God bless you. All right.